sonnenProtect-Plus for the Hybrid 9.53 is an all-in-one IP66 wiring enclosure which incorporates the pre-wired metering and CT setup for the Sonnen system, as well as the ATS and changeover relays required for the backup operation if the grid was to fail. So the enclosure itself comes, like I said previously, pre-wired. It also comes with all the compliant labelling as per the relevant Australian standards. Within the enclosure, you also get the wiring assembly for the backup circuit, some of the other accessories that would normally come in a hybrid main unit, installation manuals, fixings and battery cables. The first process is to put the mounting brackets onto the rear of the enclosure. These come in a small silver packet. So the first thing is to locate the bracket at the rear of the enclosure. The recommendation is to install these brackets so facing out at the 45 degrees. That way we get even distribution of the weight and simply screw them in place. Then locate the enclosure on the wall and fix it as is required. Also within that little accessory kit you get a lever which enables you to open the enclosure. As you can see inside, all the prescribed labelling is already included. By inserting a small screwdriver into the little notches, you can very simply unclick the covers, and then we can begin with the wiring itself. Obviously turn off all circuits to the property prior to wiring in the Protect-Plus. You'll need to drill through the enclosure to insert gland entries. Ensure, however you do this, that you adhere to the IP rating of the location. The enclosure itself is IP66, so ideally ensure that this is retained. So step one of the wiring is to locate the main incoming supply from the grid. So this cable here, for illustration purposes, is the existing grid supply, which we're extending out to take that straight to the Protect-Plus. We then obviously have to have a return cable coming back from the Protect-Plus to replace the previous grid supply. This is now going to become the supply to what we'd see as being the normal or nominal loads. So, to repeat, the grid supply which was supplying all the domestic loads now becomes the grid supply for the Protect-Plus, and we come back from the Protect-Plus to that circuit which is now going to be supplying specifically the normal loads. What we also have here is we already have a very conveniently arranged set of sub-circuits, which for illustration purposes we're going to now assume are going to be our backup or essential loads. So previously they were wired from the main incoming grid supply. but what we're going to do here is isolate them so that they are specifically supplied from the Protect-Plus for essential load purposes. So from the RCD here, what we're doing is basically just taking off the existing normal grid supply, both active and neutral. And then we add in a circuit or a supply which is going to come back from the Protect-Plus for the non-normal loads or for the essential stroke backup loads. So to reiterate, we have the grid supply going to the Protect-Plus, returning from the Protect-Plus are now two circuits, one for normal loads and one for backup loads. So these three circuits we now feed into the Protect-Plus. As you'll see within the Protect-Plus, we have simple snap connectors. For the grid supply and normal loads, these will take up to a 16mm CSA cable. So grid supply comes in, and then supply to the normal loads. The supply for the sonnenBatterie, solar and backup loads will enable cable sizes up to 10mm CSA. So there we have our three circuits: grid supply, normal loads and backup loads. And then the connection into the sonnen system is simple. The main unit itself will come with the AC cable, and within the Protect-Plus we will be supplying the cable which goes to the backup circuit. Also, given that the metering is pre-wired into the sonnen system, we also need to feed a suitable Cat6 or C-bus type cable from the sonnen system into the Protect-Plus. So here we wire the sonnenBatterie itself, all of the conductors for the backup circuit, and the labelling will tell you specifically which colour goes where, into which connection. And then plug in the Cat6 or suitably rated data cable from the metering. Now, if an AC coupled solar system is installed, obviously that also needs to be wired and connected into the Protect-Plus. For this installation or illustration purposes, we have omitted an AC coupled solar system. The connections to the main unit of the sonnen are very simple. We just plug in the AC cable, the Modbus cable for the metering, and the cable which goes to the output backup circuits. The only other connection to the sonnen system which is required is the Ethernet cable. And for illustration purposes here, we're simply connecting it to an Ethernet over power adapter. That is the installation complete. And here we have all the dedicated, isolated backup circuits. Now the previous grid supply, that labelling is optional whether you remove that or not. It is technically still the grid supply, but it could just now be labelled as the supply for this subboard. To energise, turn on all of the dedicated circuits within the subboard. Turn on all the circuits within the sonnenProtect-Plus. Obviously, given that we don't have solar connected, we're not going to turn this one on for now. Turn on the meter. Ensure that the key to open the Protect Plus is located at a convenient location. You can simply sit on top of the enclosure. And this is now the installation complete. And just turn on the system and go through the commissioning process as normal.